Everyone,
Okay.
we have Patrick Odle
Hi,
coming on
friend.
next.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
Patrick is master of all things badassery, and he is out there doing the Lord's work. So we're going to bring him on without further ado. Patrick, how are you?
Hi, Patrick.
Doing
Nice to meet
doing
you.
great. Doing
Good.
great. How are you guys?
Good.
We're a
So,
little fired up after that last
Oh,
interview
yeah.
regarding Planned Parenthood in our schools, but nothing too big.
yeah. So just lead off. Tell the listeners what it is that you do.
Well, I teach defensive tactics. That's my actual day job. So I work a lot with military, police officers, guys that are purpose driven. What they're trying to do is develop the most current tactics to control somebody and effect an arrest, or even worse, have to dispatch somebody, really quickly. So I work with people on knife specifically. That's my actual specialty. And then some people, it's how to control one and disarm it. Some it's how to effectively use a knife in defense, and then with the military, it's actually offensive. So
All right. And you just got back from Africa, correct?
yeah, so my day job is teaching the defensive stuff, and then I work with a foundation that is actual 501c3 here in Utah, and we specialize in countering human trafficking. So um, kind of a diverse approach. We actually do undercover field operations in several countries, and those lead to evidence gathering and building a target package of who the key perpetrators are that are exploiting children, whether it be for sexual exploitation or organ harvesting or labor trafficking. But once we identify what their tactics are and how they're implementing their control methods and who the key players are, then we organize a takedown with local law enforcement and military in these countries. So
Hey,
th-
Patrick, what's the name of the organization?
it's Children's International Rescue Foundation. You can go to the website. It's thecirf.org. That's the short version. um, but yeah, Children's International Rescue Foundation. It was formed about 4 years ago by people that are former military and law enforcement and first responder community in Utah. So we all work together with these foreign government partners to close these cases that they're stuck on. So
I'm wondering, when you work with their law enforcement, do you get a lot of support from the local governments there?
we do an overwhelming amount in comparison to what we see here, just because of the way that the judicial system is set up here. It's very difficult to do much more than get the child back to their family, because without an actual first account testimony from the child, it's very difficult to get anything that will result in a conviction. So and to expect a child to stand up on the stand and indicate their attacker and face them and be cross-examined by some defense attorney that is
That's
basically,
traumatizing.
yeah, it's, oh, is everything okay there?
Yeah,
We're
I'm just
showing your
showing your
site.
website.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, you're good.
So yeah, basically what it is we get in there and we infiltrate these cases that they're kind of hitting a wall on. So we can take intelligence officers or people from juvenile justice or the prosecutor's office, and we have the support of the attorney general and the prosecuting attorneys from the region. So we're working as a multi-jurisdictional task force. But
That's
um,
great. Do you have law enforcement power over there, or are you basically just observers and evidence gatherers?
well, we're working basically as confidential informants. At a certain point, we're certified by the court system there, and even have to do a psychological review to prove that you're fit to, give accurate testimony. And so when then we're also, as we're developing our relationship more, we're allowed to use false identities and things of that nature. But We're working in collaboration with the federal and local government of this region. So it's a little bit different when they're the ones taking you to get your non-traceable SIM card and all of the things that you're going to be using for your undercover and decoy cover. So this way, nothing's leading back to anything I'm purchasing with my passport or anything along those lines. But that's just one facet. I got back from Africa not because I was working undercover work, but I was training a federal anti-human trafficking task force for Zambia. They're developing their first nationally recognized task force that will address these accounts as its sole focus. And there it tends to be more human trafficking and organ harvesting, but there is
Oh,
sexual exploitation as well. And some of the accounts that I had heard in Africa, in the region that we were in, is the copper mines and cobalt mines. They're working people for $1 a day, 10 cents an hour. So they take these young children and they basically just work them to death, and they're not aware of the conditions that they're going to enter into, where they're kept underground for a week at a time, only given food twice a week, and then they're charged for it, and they're charged for the blanket that they sleep on, and it's what they call debt slavery. So they basically are billing them for everything while they've got them held hostage in a remote location with only this very, very minimal opportunity to work their way out of it.
and
So
it's slavery to mine for energy or to build batteries and things like that across the world. I'm assuming, I mean, this is one of the aspects that we don't really take into account when we're having this energy argument. These are children
yeah,
that are slave labor,
yeah,
and the slavery right now in the country, we have more slavery happening than we ever had in the history of our country. Is that correct?
that's absolutely true. The sad part is that we know these are older statistics. I believe 5 years ago it was said that over 10,000 children per month in the United States go missing. So that's on average
Oh,
200
that
children
makes me
per state.
sick.
So 200 children per state per month are going unaccounted for, and that's an older statistic. I only can imagine it's worse with all of the new influences that we have coming across the border with organized crime syndicates. The very same people that we rescue children from in Central and South America are the same people that are here now. And they're organized, taking over apartment complexes. And I
Oh,
mean,
I
you
thought
guys
that
are
didn't happen. That was fake news,
right,
right?
right. I mean, well, that's the thing. You guys are hip. I mean, it's just when we hear of these criminal organizations, even here in Utah, they busted a prostitution ring in West Valley a couple of weeks ago. That was Tren de Aragua, which is a Venezuelan prison gang. That's a bunch of the enforcers were cut loose by their leader and current dictator. So these guys they're rough, that they don't just prostitute full grown women. Their number one bottom line is based off of child trafficking, and they're here in Utah now. They're being spotted all over. Um, so it's like, there's going to be some radical changes. It's great to see this new administration cracking down on a lot of the criminal organizations and the organized crime that's, you know, I mean, we have our own domestic issues. We've had gangs in all of our major cities for years, but these cartels are just a whole nother monster when it comes to human trafficking.
When
So,
Trump was president before, did he not? I feel like he did some human trafficking bills, and
yeah,
that were good in 2016.
I can't
But
remember the exact number, but I want to say something in the teens. It was 17 or 19 bills
it was somebody
immediately.
finally taking. I
Yeah,
know that Sean Reyes was part of that. He was in DC when Trump was signing these bills. In fact, he
yeah,
was even issuing warrants for sex offenders that were using these countries for sex and traveling American citizens to go to these countries for sex, the
yeah,
purposes so that they could be busted and brought back. And I'm just wondering, like, so many parents lose their kids and never see them again. And organizations like yours are probably the only hope they have. How many parents can go to Africa and go to Haiti and go to these other countries and look for their kids? But these parents never stop looking. Never.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you mentioned that because one of the first things that the Biden administration did when they took over was overturn all of those anti-human trafficking bills. It was some of the first work that they did. They wanted to undo anything from the current administration that would look good for them because they weren't the ones to instate it. And then they just never replaced it with anything. So they unraveled several good things that really there was an attempt to try to make a greater awareness about this and to try to stop it and even set funds aside and task forces aside, and all of that was overturned by the Biden administration. I
It's
mean,
I
it's
don't want to say it's by design because that would have to mean the devil himself is running our
uh,
government. But I really think this is it's part of that collateral damage that comes out of these things and stopping the government, like you said, and stopping the vaccination thing and the COVID thing. All this collateral damage, it's like to them, it's just numbers on a paper. But to you and I, this is our kids. These are
yeah.
the people we love more than anything on the planet. And I'm so glad your organization is doing this. I'm sick that it has to be done. But how many children do you ever go out and look for American children?
So, I was trained by a gentleman that's out of St. George, and he runs a relatively small organization where most people are just all donating their time, similar to us. And um, he would do recoveries and transports, and that's about the best that you could hope for, is to get the kid away from this bad situation and either to a treatment center or back to the family. And but obviously only by families that could
Afford it.
afford it, right? And that's that's so excluding to so many young people that just are, maybe the whole reason they were vulnerable and on the street in the first place is because they don't have a safe home situation. So that's what I often hear with the young girls that we're saving, is that something happened where they felt ostracized from their family unit and they were vulnerable, and they say that as soon as a child is homeless, they're like 4 times more likely to be trafficked,
Oh yeah.
and they're
Oh,
likely to be picked up within 36 hours of being on the street. So these people, like, they know what they're doing. So so to answer your question, Miss, we're an international rescue foundation, but what we are working on domestically, because there are the three legs to what we do as a foundation. We go undercover and we actually crack these organizations open when our law enforcement partners can't get any further. We also train these federal task forces on tradecraft, how to go undercover, like how to set up a decoy account, how to set up a cover story, how to practice that, how to be deceptive, how to engage with people so that you can get information about them, but not be made and
Right, scare them
put you,
off.
yeah, or get yourself in some dangerous situations, which there are plenty in third world countries. So so anyhow, and then we teach them forensic interviewing, we teach them how to interrogate. All of these things are specific to obviously sexual abuse, and we're a child rescue. So oftentimes when we're busting open these criminal organizations, we do rescue several women from an exploitation situation. But
mm.
to be honest, like, we specifically target cases where it's children involved. So in Zambia, like you were saying, it is children with lithium, cobalt, copper, all of the things necessary for all of these electric vehicles, this craze that we've got going on right now. That's the dark side of the electric vehicle nobody wants to talk about, is that your battery was made with the lives of children. So
I do
um,
hope as those nations modernize, they can free themselves from needing that archaic slave labor
Yeah, because a
to
lot of families send their kids off
oh
because they're in poverty, and
yeah,
these kids end up in the
developing
sex trade
countries
or
have always
oh,
done that. My great grandfather came to America because he was sold, not great, I don't know how many greats, but he was sold into servitude, and that's how he ended up over here. The origination of the family line in the U.S. But no, I want to get to some other things with you here in a minute, but I
Yeah.
also want to real quick follow up. Are there any like danger spots or any areas, say here locally in Utah, that we know are hot spots for this type of activity? Like we're out here in Tooele, and God
Yeah.
forbid someone's out here in Tooele doing it.
I think it's everywhere.
There's a little bit of a desert out west. I wouldn't mind
Yeah,
showing you the beauty of a sunset out there. But is there like hot spots here in Utah that are to watch out for?
As far as trafficking, anything along the 15, because of it going through, the better part of 5 states. So, it's so massive. You could take it all the way down into Los Angeles, and that 15 is going to run all the way through. So, a lot of children don't make it past Vegas. With the gentleman that I was talking about before, most of the people he's looking for belong somewhere between here and Brigham City, and they're running away, and first thing they do is hop on the 15 and go as far south as they can on the tracks, and then they start hitching the rest of the way. And it's if you really start looking at things like 24-hour gas stations and truck stops, and your any of your hotels, motels that are under $100, you start seeing real quickly that there's a certain type of crowd that they draw in, and it's generally going to circulate around narcotics and prostitution. And then prostitution really is just kind of like a shell game or smoke and mirrors for them to be able to start introducing underage children. So it really is a slippery slope.
And don't they usually get these people drugged up
Yeah, that's part of the
eventually?
debt
And
slavery as well. So
that's how you have to, not only do you have to rehab them from the trauma, but you have to rehab them from the drugs they're fed every single day.
yeah, that's why often it's not just actual sexual abuse therapy. They need substance abuse treatment, and then they also need some type of occupational therapy to give them a fair chance at a regular life. And we're primarily in the prevention and the disruption of the trafficking. We don't provide actual direct aftercare. What we do is we help fund the organization that we bring in. That's goes by the name of Aftercare International. So they're basically an international organization that helps rehome children, and then they also travel around and provide occupational training to the orphanages so that they understand how to receive these children that
Oh,
are in
can
their
you imagine?
traumatized state. So,
Is the federal
you
government
know,
do anything with you? Does the federal government? I mean, I bet a lot of you that are on these task forces are probably ex-military, ex-law enforcement, or
yeah.
still in it. But the federal FBI, do they cooperate? Do they get you into places?
We don't really take any federal or state aid right now. Everything is by private donors. And if I told you how many children we've saved, like our odds right now are better than like for about what it would cost to go out of state on a little weekend vacation, we can save a kid. So it's
Okay,
it's
how do we
incredible.
donate?
So
Where do
so
we donate? And what do people do? Do they just go to your
yeah.
website?
Yeah, if you go to the CIRF.org, there is a pop-up for donations that gives you an opportunity to do a reoccurring donation, or you can do something that's a one-time thing. And it's a 501c3, so they are tax credible for, getting reimbursed through your taxes. But it's one of those things where like we've had under I think $70,000 in donations this last year, and we saved 34 children and we incarcerated 36 individuals, and that's covering like our plane fare and our hotel in these not real nice hotels, but we
Right.
have to get there and we have to do the work. That's our surveillance equipment. That's you know what it is it's amazing people from this community that are police officers, firemen, first responders in the medical community, people like myself. I'm a government contractor. I work directly with police officers or military law enforcement, teaching my combative stuff. But that affords me time to donate to a foundation like this. And none of us take a wage. There's no salaries for board members. We all donate our time, and And we go and we do this because it's the right thing to do. And these people just need to be empowered how to do something about it in their own country. So, um, but lastly, before I, kind of lose my train of thought, the prevention is what we've been working on domestically. Since the reaction phase with the criminal justice system doesn't really allow for us to have steady convictions, the best thing we can do are plant seeds of prevention. So we've paired up with a company called AI Vector, and we're creating a product that's a software called Digital Sentinel. And what the Digital Sentinel does is you can install it as an end user on your home network, and it covers Fortnite and Minecraft and, Roblox and all the chat interface platforms that come with your video gaming systems. It covers your chat rooms, your social media stuff, and it's monitoring your network basically for any type of predatory activity towards your children. And what it does is you give it basic permission to monitor your system, and then it sends you an alert as the parent that lets you know that somebody who's very clearly an adult is talking to your child. Do you know this person?
Oh my
Or
word.
somebody is asking for photos of your child, or somebody's sending inappropriate messages. And if it does escalate to the point of where there's inappropriate media exchanged, or there's requesting of a meetup or an in-person meetup, then it automatically builds a case profile and target package for the individual with their MAC address and IP address, and it locks down all of their information so that we can start to build profiles on these people who are sexual predators online. And so the Digital Sentinel program we're putting out also to magnify the efforts of law enforcement and cyber task forces, because it's not just an end user product to protect your children at home, but we can also use this as a way to use this artificial intelligence for task forces to not operate on a 1-to-1 ratio where they're kind of going back and forth, feeling out this person with this decoy account, trying to figure out if they're a creep or not, or maybe they just don't know that they're talking to a young person and it fizzles out. So they can set up an unlimited amount of decoy accounts so that they could be phishing in all of the geographically oriented chat rooms for like Yahoo, Google, Bing. All your major search engines will have chats, and then you can click on location in Utah and Salt Lake City, and you can get to where you're talking to people relevant to your location. And if they're willing to come into your jurisdiction to meet a child, now all of a sudden you have probable cause to move forward with a case that's actually going to bear fruit. Whereas in they're overworked. These poor officers have
Mm-hmm.
to sit all day and like directly communicate with these creeps. So
And they
it's
have to
not
see the
just
worst of the worst. I mean,
yeah, that's the other thing.
it's
It's not just
it's
what it
taxing.
does
It
for
ages you quickly.
multiplying the force, but it takes their psyche out of this
Yeah.
interaction with some psychopath who's willing to violate children. So anyhow, there are amazing benefits to this, as not just um, the psychiatric value, the fact that it's going to act as a force multiplier for cyber task forces, but it's also going to protect households because
How did
parents
we get
now.
this? How do we
So,
get this?
it,
This is called the Digital Sentinel program, and
yeah,
I'm putting
Digital
it in the
Sentinel.
comments. Did they find it on the website, or is this a
So,
separate thing?
right now, we're planning to launch this in the next 6 months. So, I'm really trying to get the word out about this because a big portion of our funding this year also had to fund our investment in having this made. So,
This is
it's
brilliant.
been what all I'm saying is like everybody's kind of looking for a new organization to support in this realm because of all kinds of controversy surrounding human trafficking lately, and it's we're still working on amazing things, not just prevention domestically, but we're getting out there, we're still doing the work and remaining relevant in the rescue world, and then we're training these amazing new task forces that, I mean, they're just so eager to like fix these problems in their own country. They're highly educated, they're highly capable. They're being pulled from Interpol and narcotics and terrorism, and they're all coming together to like pool their efforts to try to fix these problems in their country. So it's a big honor for us to be the ones that go out there and provide them the training and know-how, but we're like operating on a just-in-time financial model. it's
Do you know,
it's
Patrick, I'm a mom. I've got a couple kids who play Roblox and or did
Yeah.
play
Oh,
when they
the
were young.
Sentinel would be warning you about
And-
you on modern warfare.
Look, does it monitor Call of Duty? Because I have enough with Activision
Yeah.
babysitting my game.
Yeah.
I swear, my brother's on his third ban. I think that something like this, the thing is, I think I'm doing everything right. I've got the passwords. I'm checking their chats. I'm watching them. I even have an account where I go in and join and ghost join them and interact on the server. I'm trying to do everything right, and I hope they're not watching. But something like this, my kids have friends that have had inappropriate people reach out to them, and I'm from a law enforcement family, so I'm probably extra on edge and watching and making sure. But I can't be everywhere all the time, and every kid gets duped because the person they're playing with, that's their friend, is actually a 40-year-old, 50-year-old man and talks like a teenager, acts like a teenager. And then once it hits that line of inappropriate, they're already in pretty close with this person. And there's a lot of forgiveness there. And then they're scared to tell mom because they don't want to lose their ability to play. I mean, there are so many parents listening that are exactly in this same boat.
Yeah.
A device like this that not only law enforcement can use, but it's creating a case so that I can go to my sheriff and say, my child has been chatted with by this person. This person is sending filth. Here's their IP address. What do I do? And let's start taking the trash out in this country. At least getting these people away from our kids. So will this be on the website? I'm going to tell people to watch out for it.
Yeah, and you know what I've been telling people, because I just went and handed out flyers for a week at SHOT Show in Vegas for the
Cool.
basically the big law enforcement and military trade show.
I know the show I missed to go to the inauguration that I couldn't see.
Fucker. SHOT Show is one hell of a show.
It's kind of heaven for your tactical folks. So yeah, I've been telling everybody, if you reach out to us on the website, there's an email for contact. If you let us know that you're interested in Digital Sentinel, just mention if you're law enforcement. There's a chance we can get you a beta version to test. Right now we have 3 different departments in Utah that are beta testing it, including an officer with internet crimes against children. So we're in the mode where we've got a product. Now we're just running it through the gamut and just making sure that we can really rely on it and that we're getting feedback from people that are going to use it extensively. So
it's AI.
Yeah, it's AI driven and basically programmed by countless decoy conversations that we've had with sexual predators on our phones that we've just been backing up as evidence in all of these cases. So we were just sitting on a gold mine of data.
So when you're on the phone as a decoy, are you like what, a 14-year-old blonde girl? In there,
No.
hi.
Oh, so that's
My
kind
name
of
is
how.
Patricia.
Well, you'd be surprised. So there's an
I don't want
amazing.
to. I really don't want to hear about the creepy dudes. We should just
No, I mean,
bring the
really, like for
guillotine
you to
back.
understand
It's
this,
not been gone that long.
it's not bad. It's just if you were to make like a temporary chat account and you just choose a username, as long as it's not being taken at the time, you could put, Carolyn 14 SLC as the username. And if you throw that up in a geographically oriented chat room that's for Salt Lake City, that's all you'd have to do is just say, hi, how's everybody doing tonight in the chat room? And then you're going to be getting private and direct messages from men that are well over the age of 18, wanting to know if she's bored, wanting to know if she wants to hook up, wanting to know what she looks like. It's like,
You're kidding
it's
me.
just,
And they ask
no,
how
I'm
old they
not.
are, and they
So
don't
do these
care.
guys, is that all they do with their life, is just sit on a chat room?
You'd be surprised because, I mean, how many times do they have to be effective to figure out that it's a numbers game?
It's
Until they find
100.
it,
It's one
until
out of
they find
100.
there's no accountability on the other end. Like for instance, if I had to like stick my hand in holes and every 10th hole I'm going to get bit by a rattlesnake, and maybe every 7 to 15th hole I'm going to get gold out of it, unless there's a rattlesnake, I'm just going to keep sticking my hand in holes if I find gold once, right? So, it's just human behavior that like there's no accountability factor, and these people, that's what we're going to be able to do at the very least. If the parent absolutely chooses to have a police report made, there's going to be a report and an actual history on record that this person is engaging in predatory behavior.
And this
Now, let's
program will
say,
be able to snatch
yeah, it'll be
their
able to trap
personal
all of their
information.
Their
information.
IP, so the
Yeah.
computer they're using, their location. What if they have a what's it called?
If they have a VPN,
A
it will
VPN.
also it'll track the changes that will take place, but it will still be able to probably pull the MAC address. It's hard to say it with the new VPN technology.
I mean,
But
AI is improving the VPN technology. At the same time, it's improving
right.
the ability to track and catch. Technology is a wonderful thing when it's
Man,
unleashed,
I
huh?
just hope some bored, angry ex-football linebacker right now who doesn't like child predators doesn't say, I got a great idea. I'm going to lure a pedophile to a parking lot and see how much blood I can make come out of him.
There
Well,
are
that's the
actually
thing.
several videos of people doing that. It's
There's
actually become,
vigilantes.
yeah, that's what it is.
What was
It's
that guy in Louisiana that his kid's karate instructor took him?
We shot him in the head.
Labouche? Was it Labouche? Was that his
Your
name?
French is really good tonight.
I know. I'm outstanding at French. Anyway, so I wanted to also talk about this. So you do training. I haven't attended any of your trainings yet, which is something that Mallory beats me about the head and shoulders with all the time.
This
But
is Mallory's
yes,
Thursday nights or something.
but you also
Oh, small
you
world.
also hold free. One of my part of the stuff I train, I want to make it so that there's no more assaults on women ever. I want to see
Right.
that drop to zero. I'm with old Penn and Teller that when a woman's born, we should give her a pink Glock, and she lives with that her whole life, and that secures her virtue. But you do training of free women's self-defense classes.
Yeah, I used to do one or two a month just because I kind of offer it as a free service. If somebody has a church group or they have like a relief society or, I've trained several women's groups that Mallory's, organized for me because she's got a big outreach with women that are trying to develop their defensive tactics. Maybe they've already done a firearms course, but they've never negotiated anybody up close and personal. And I specialize in the knife just because, though I am a firearms instructor as well, there's a lot of responsibility to managing the collateral when you aim a firearm. And
Right.
you can also have, pass through with a projectile where you're doing everything right, but you still have the potential for collateral if there's not a safe distance behind your target as well. So, anyhow, a lot of the gals that I teach initially, they feel more comfortable with the idea of something that they hold every day already, and that being a knife. It's like they're a little bit more comfortable getting that out under pressure and knowing that they don't have to be so concerned with the angle that it's pointing. And then once I teach somebody how to effectively get a blade to flesh, it's pretty much a done deal.
And you can
So,
conceal a knife pretty easy
yeah.
as
Oh,
a
yeah.
woman and
Yeah.
have it and then your kid might get to it, but it's not something that they're likely to hurt themselves with. I mean, women could be very
Yeah.
comfortable. When I trained with Mallory, the first thing she told me to do is get a knife, and I was like,
Yeah.
a knife, okay. But
Yeah.
I see how that the little one that looks like a T. Oh man, that's better than carrying your car keys around. Walk into the
Yeah.
car. Have you
Oh,
seen
you're
it?
talking about a punch blade. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, a
And-
little punch tagger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm in a place where it's crowded, I've done all the words, I've said all the words, and I'm still apprehensive about pulling out my 9mm. If the guy's coming for me, just a little uppercut to the.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, even an inch, there's nowhere on my body. I want an inch of steel sharpened up and pushed into my body. So,
I spend a lot of times in a profession, and knives scare me as much, if not more, than guns.
Really?
yeah.
And getting into a knife fight, you always get bloody.
Well, that's why you
Even
bring
if
a
you
gun
win.
to a knife fight.
That's right.
the
And
rules,
if I
right?
know I'm going to a
Yeah.
fight, I want the USS Arizona in my back pocket if I know I'm going to a fight. Or a nuclear A-10 Warthog would be fine. An A-10 Warthog would be my weapon of
Kind of
choice.
overcompensating a little, don't you
If I
think?
know I'm going to a fight, that's what I want.
Yeah, the knife is nice for up close and personal where you don't have to manage collateral, but I carry appendix with a gun daily, and then I also carry my knife at like 3 o'clock. And it's just I think of it as kind of like a hammer's a great hammer, but it's a shitty screwdriver. So like
Mhm.
if I need something to affect something from a distance, if I'm in a gunfight, yeah, I want a gun. But if I'm in a fight where I have 2, 3 people attacking me at close quarters, then I can cut my way out of that. So
Amazing.
um, yeah,
If people want your services and want to have you train,
Say group of ladies, a relief society group
yeah,
per se,
yeah.
want to put a class together. How do they reach out to you?
Yeah. So my professional website is MCC Defense. My email through that is Patrick at MCC Defense. And then same with Children's International Rescue. It's Patrick at thecirf.org. But yeah,
you're
just
going way fast on me. I'm
oh,
trying to put it in the comments. It's Patrick at MCC Defense, and
yep,
that's how they
.com.
email you.
Yeah, .com. And then the website is MCC Defense. And then yep, that's it.
What is the MC? Oh, there it is. He put it on the
Yeah.
screen. Okay.
Modern combative concepts.
Yeah, so I teach everything from like ground defense, arrest procedure, knife. Um, I also teach some awareness and avoidance and home defense fundamentals classes that help people to kind of change their daily patterns and kind of basically executive protection protocol and how you can just employ them in your everyday life to elevate your awareness and really see things through a different set of eyes so you're not exposing yourself so much.
What
So
is your background? Were you law enforcement or military? What?
no,
Like,
actually, I did this for about 30 years just because I started as an athlete with freestyle Greco and collegiate wrestling. And then after that, I
oh,
went into to Kung Fu at about 20 years old, and then had a master's degree by the time I was 33, which is an eighth degree black belt in Kung Fu Sansu. And I had all these people calling me master, and I was 33 years old.
oh
So,
my word. Is that
um,
all? Oh my
well,
word.
I felt like awkward, so I started going to Krav Maga and got a black belt in Krav Maga. But everything that they do for their stick and knife comes from the Philippines, so that sent me down that rabbit hole. And I teach 3 styles of Filipino stick and knife, and I won the national championship in 2018. And then I also teach another style of defense called Mastro Defense. I've been doing that for about 8 years now and traveled to Europe training counterterrorism and control tactics and VIP protection tactics and stuff like that. So, I mean,
You're
I've just
kind of
been
a big
doing this
deal,
for,
Patrick.
well, I did it for like 30 years because I love knowing all this stuff. And then about 24 years in, I just started getting these job offers to come and teach. And so I kind of walked away from what I was doing before because I wasn't really happy. And my partner was like, "Look, if money didn't matter, what would you do?" And I said, "I would just learn really cool stuff and find people that want to learn it and teach it to them." so so she's like, "Well, then we need to stop doing this and just sell this business, and you need to figure out a way to do that because you're not happy." And
That's great.
so luckily all the defense stuff I was training knife and teaching defensive tactics for an instructor who ran a 5-day course. And I would come out and teach my day and then leave. And he basically made me the offer to, do the whole course and take a wash on the week and come away with the ability to understand executive protection for children and get certified with an adaptive executive protection qualification so that I could transport children and relocate them without causing any type of exacerbation of their trauma or um, e- exposing my own personal liability while doing it. So,
Brilliant.
um, yeah, so after doing that, then I did like escape and evasion and like a bunch of tradecraft courses, learning surveillance, counter surveillance tactics, covert surveillance techniques, and then I became a youth mental health first responder by the state of Utah, and it all kind of like was centric around handling children that have had difficult upbringings, and so when given the opportunity to actually join one of these teams and do the work, it was an amazing opportunity. But they normally don't take people that aren't law enforcement or military. But
Right. You're
um,
so young to have such a resume. I mean, you look very young. So whatever you're doing is good for you. Like that's a hell of a resume. And
yeah,
under this
well,
new administration and hopefully Cash Patel and everybody else,
yeah,
I hope there is a focus on this issue that, I mean, how lucky is Utah to have you here? And how lucky is our local law enforcement to have something like this device, this digital sentinel potentially
yeah,
available to them. And we're going into a new age where hopefully we are taking back our children and those cartels that are brutal. They aren't just, hey, they'll execution style like the mafia. They will skin you if
yeah.
you're caught. And
They'll
we need
peel
our,
your flesh.
yeah, we need our law enforcement to be empowered. We need our parents empowered, and we need our federal law enforcement to be empowered so that we can
Yeah.
put an end to this. This is insane. And what a great guest you are. This is
Mhm.
really, really interesting.
No, thank you. Thank you. It's a big honor to do the work. I mean, I really I knew it would feel good to get out there and save kids, but I really had no idea how it was going to impact me on my level of like gratitude and appreciation for just like the life we get to live here every day. It's, we have the mountains all around us, it's 30 minutes to drive up in any one of these canyons, and you've got pristine nature. We're so blessed to not be facing the opposition that a lot of the world is here. And every time I leave the country for the foundation, I feel like it's a factory reset on my gratitude and
Oh yeah.
appreciation, and kind of knocks me down off my little pedestal a little bit. And um, so it's just, I thought teaching was going to be my end all, and that's what I left my old job to do. And um, I just, getting into this work kind of made all of the training make sense. Whereas I tried when I first got out here to get on board with some organizations and just really couldn't align with what they were doing. It seemed very reckless, or it seemed inflammatory towards the child. And so at that point, it was just, okay, I'll just train the people that need what I offer, because we're kind of like typewriters, but everybody's so gun heavy. Now you can just blow somebody up with a drone. Knife warfare is uh, is not what it used to be. So
I bet you
it's
could teach a lot in London where knives are kind of like the way that don't law enforcement carry
yeah.
knives and not
No, they
guns?
don't.
No,
No, they carry Facebook profiles over in
I'm
London.
just wondering, like,
yeah.
I would
They
think
usually
that
carry a small club,
they
They-
could use
I
they
don't
could
even know if they
use your
carry that anymore.
expertise. I
Yeah, that's what's incredible, right? Is everybody thinks America has a gun problem, because I'm also an active shooter instructor. I teach for Fight Back Nation, which is another not-for-profit that does amazing work in Utah, and we teach faculty and administration how to combat an active shooter or a school shooter situation. And everybody seems to think that America's got a gun problem, but the moment you take guns away, it turns into a hammer problem, like it is in Greece,
it's a
or
Yeah.
tool
it
problem.
turns
The knife
into a
and
knife problem in the UK. So violence is violence. It's just, what if there is a lack of compassion for
We
human
have
life
a
nowadays.
we
right.
have a society and a culture problem.
Right.
Yeah, right.
That's what it is.
That's what's hurting us, and that's hurting us across the board. We had Nicolene Peck on earlier, and with all the abortions and with children being either sold by their parent or running away, those are all signs of a cultural problem.
Well, the
And
fact there's nowhere to take these kids
we
when
need
they're
to
rescued.
we need to
because-
figure out how to fix this cultural problem. That's ideal. We need to become self-governing people again.
And the
Yeah, and
village that's there for other people's kids. When you see a child that's maybe being abused at home, or, there's got to be something we can do as a community to get around that kid before they hit the streets and hit the freeway and then disappear
Mhm.
forever. I mean,
yeah,
human life is so unimportant to people
yeah,
now. And it's
yeah.
so sad.
It's incredibly bad in these third world countries too, where, just the dollar is incredibly powerful. You see people working for $1 a day and they're happy to get that. And then, that same wage, if I go from Africa up to Greece, they're getting about $30 a day, which seems like good because it's 10 times more, but like, or 30 times more. But really it's like the average person here could be making 300 a day if they've got a decent job and had a good education and choice of career. So it's incredibly different when you go somewhere that is making like less than 100th of what the average person here makes in a day, and everybody's barefoot, everybody's starving. Um, so
Their water
it's
isn't clean. I mean, we've
right,
said it
yeah,
here.
basic
Americans
basic
don't know
human
what
rights act.
poverty is.
Yeah,
The American people don't know what true poverty is. And
yeah,
not that we should ever have to know that, because we are an innovative country and we're a free country and all of that. But
yeah. Well,
until you actually can realize that sometimes clean water, we take it for granted. And there are people that don't even have that. It's
yeah,
And then
yeah. Well,
these children kidnapped. I think the first time I ever heard of this, I was a new mom, and it was Operation Underground Railroad. They did a presentation. I couldn't open my wallet fast enough, and it was so difficult for me to even hear it, let alone see the
yeah,
presentation. I had to excuse myself. Never have I ever had to excuse myself from hearing or seeing something. Like I said, law enforcement family, we've seen everything. And this hit me in my core. The fact that this is happening, I look at homes differently. Like, are there kids trapped in this house? Are
yeah.
there
No, I
perverts?
hear you.
And so, are my kids safe? And how can I keep them safe? And how can I keep my kids' friends safe? And it's like, now they're talking about it over the last 10 years. And we had a
Yeah,
president that was on board with getting it fixed. And now he's back. And so I'm hoping that he goes back to this. I mean, he's talking death penalty for child
yeah.
sex abusers. And that changes the game up a little.
Mm. It sounds nice.
I'm
So I don't have
I just don't think it's a
sympathy for him.
offense. It's not an offense that people are going to rehabilitate from. That's the
it's
problem.
they've
Nope.
And
proven
if
there's no
anything, it
rehabilitation.
perpetuates the behavior. Most of these
Yep.
people have been abused when they were young, and it instills this perpetual abuse that really, I mean, whenever I hear about somebody that's a known pedophile being killed, my only one hope is that they didn't reproduce before it happened,
Yeah.
because chances are they're offending on their own children even.
Yep.
And it really is horrific when we hear these stories of children being sold by their own relatives, or they're being sexually abused by a relative, and then that's what caused them to run away, and then they responded to an ad for modeling, and that led to them being abducted and having their passport taken and being raped several times, and then they're being put out on the street and they're being exploited, and this is all at 14. So
Yeah.
these are children. They're not that any person should have to deal with that, but they just never even saw it coming, and their life is over as they know it. So we're able to get out there and disrupt these organizations. We're able to train support teams to be able to come in and keep the pressure on them while we're not there, and to establish more of these cases and get them as far along as they can, because we're limited right now. Like I said, everything's just in time. So we're able to manage things the best that we can with what we've got coming in. But really, one big donor could make a world of difference for our organization right now because of the 3 open cases we have in South America. The fact that we still haven't fully paid off this AI technology that we're having developed. There's a lot
Hear that,
going on.
Elon?
So
Elon Musk could
right?
donate.
Well,
I
I
know,
want to
it's
say if anyone's looking to make a donation, maybe start off the year on a good foot, get a little bit of tax refund, whatever for next year's taxes. It's a good place. Go. Yeah,
Okay, let's talk about the website again. You want to put that up
yeah.
there?
I'll pull the website up and just go in there. It looks like the donation is as simple as they could make it, a big blue button right at the top. If you want to donate, also when this program opens up, I mean, to think if a child goes missing and the police can make a call out and say, okay, we know this child went to this chat room, and they could come to this program and say, can you pull us up IP addresses that had
the breadcrumbs.
Interactions with this child, and they would automatically have
It's a game
packet.
changer.
But go to the let me
Child Rescue Operations or Children's International Rescue Foundation.
Yeah, go to
CIRF.
you can, or the short version is the CIRF.org.
Yeah, CRF.org, and if you go there, they've got a donation button right up at the top, and it's made pretty easy. I mean,
right. You can $10. I bet you could do a custom amount. You could do $5. You could do $100,000. How long have you guys been around? And you say that 100% goes to the mission?
Yeah, if you even go to like Give Freely or any of these websites that monitor not-for-profits, none of our board members draw a salary.
That's huge.
We have had occasions where somebody will fund a whole mission, which could be $35,000 for like us to go out several times and solve an actual case. So they'll fund the whole operation, and we've had times where somebody will donate some extra money to like be divvied out to the field operators, but like I said, it hardly covers what they're making being away from or losing being away from their jobs. So, but none of the board members draw a salary. We all donate our time to the foundation. I just spent
It's amazing.
the better part of 21 days on the road between being in Africa, and then I came back and I had 12 hours at home to do laundry, sleep, and be back at the airport to go to the trade show for Vegas, just to fundraise and shake hands with a ton of people in the industry that I've worked with before. Because of my private business, I have a lot of contacts, and I've just been letting them know where I've been, because I haven't been doing my little, dancing knife monkey thing on social media lately because I've been kind of doing all this undercover stuff and training these people. So it's been interesting, going down there and letting people know the work I'm doing and getting a very genuine, organic interest and concern and even product support. We had several companies that we use their products for field operations, like Faraday bags and tourniquets and things that we use for our medical stuff. And people were just like, you write me, remind me who we are when we talked, and I'll send you whatever you guys need. And they're doing everything they can to show support that we have the best technology, the best stuff for surveillance. It's just, we got to get direct financial funding. I mean, that's the big hang up with these organizations is, the universal skeleton key that works in all situations, and that's what we need for plane tickets and for hotel rooms and the stuff that it takes to get our guys in the field. So
Be nice to have an airline kind of somebody international that's a sponsor, and it would be nice to have a lot of big corporation sponsors. And the thing is you're a guy that actually stands out. You've got the tattoos and stuff. And how do you go undercover in these countries? That's got to be an art itself.
And to be honest, a lot of these places don't even have good Wi-Fi signals.
Okay, well, there's that. We're not hurting you by blasting you all over the internet.
And not everybody's running around with a cell phone in front of their face in these third world countries. You can go to any major city and find nice areas, but It's an entirely different culture, what I'm dealing with. Most of the people are in a place where it's dark to begin with, where they're being kept in a place where they're not getting out and they're not getting into the public very often. So a lot of these are nightclub settings where basically anybody who's walking around on the floor who's serving drinks or anything is basically available if you're willing to pay enough.
What
So
about the
they'll,
perpetrators? These cartel lords, these people, I mean,
yeah,
they probably have to have their guys watching all the time. And I hope every
yeah.
single one of you that is perpetrating this against a child knows you're talking to this guy who can bring a knife to a gunfight and still win. I hope
Well,
everybody thinks that way, that every single person that is, you know, soliciting to our children online, I hope that every single one of them realizes there's another person now and the technology is
yeah.
here, that you're talking to a guy just like you, but only the good guys.
Yeah,
And
that's
they're
what
going to
we
get
are.
taken down.
We're predator hunters, you know.
Oh, I love
That's
it.
Mm.
so we basically I was running around SHOT Show with my predator hunter hat on, and it was just starting all kinds of conversation. What's predator hunters?
You
Because
got
there's a
merch.
whole hunting community. These guys have bow and arrows and stuff, and I'm like, no, 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 the humankind. And they're
Hmm.
like,
That's,
oh, okay,
we need to do a
So
show like Dog the Bounty Hunter, but Patrick the Predator Hunter.
It
We're
has
missing it.
it
yeah,
has
I mean,
been a
it really is that I have an amazing team behind me of guys that, they're all making sacrifices. They all have
Right.
full-time jobs that, these folks, it's hard because, they've been doing it a lot longer than I have. I'm kind of the blood transfusion, and fortunately I can be a multi-tool. I can do the operations or train the task forces or, do an appearance like this,
Or
but
be with the kids. And once
yeah.
they've been rescued, and I mean, you are multifaceted in your abilities. I
Yeah.
imagine you're an asset. How big is the team? How big? I mean, are they looking for members to come and help,
We
donate
have
their time?
we have been assessing people. That was another benefit of SHOT Show. I had at least three gentlemen that came up that either had a military background or not, but they're going to be either retiring from law enforcement or they just retired. So there were a couple of gentlemen just looking for somewhere to put their unresolved energy. They're not ready to retire at life. But they don't want to sit at home, the whole time, and it gives them something that they can dedicate their time to and feel like they're taking their whole lifetime of experience and applying it to something that matters. So we are assessing operators. We do a training in the middle of May, but obviously it would require an extensive background check and credentials that, I'm not saying a civilian person is out entirely, but it would take a very unique situation that, to get them
Like
to.
yours.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is I've done TCCC. I'm a firearms instructor, like pistol, rifle, shotgun. All
You're like a
this is my
unicorn.
thing. It's my thing,
This isn't
and
normal.
I would do this even if nobody paid me to. So it's kind of nice that the money's going in the wallet instead of out of the wallet for all the hobbies I have. But all in all, it's just we're still looking for people. It takes fresh blood and circulating people out of the field. There's not a long shelf life to the people who do
Yeah.
undercover work at this capacity. It's extremely hard.
The
And
people, the law enforcement that I know that have to work sex crimes online, that is a shelf life of maybe
yeah,
2 years, and they have to get
no,
out of that. And I'm happy to pass your information along because I have
please,
the beauty
please,
and honor
if
of
they were
knowing
to
lots of law
contact
enforcement officers here in Utah.
Yeah, if they were to contact the website, we can definitely, if they're in cyber crimes or special victims unit or something that's working with, cyber technology and they want a beta testing version, that's something that we've been offering to people who are qualified to use it. We can't, we're not giving this decoy account version to the public because we don't want
Good.
to encourage vigilante behavior. So,
What about do they have to be current certified Cat 1s? Can they be retired? And what like basically if they're retired law enforcement or they're in law enforcement currently, do they have
it's
to
going to
retire?
depend on their department. We have several officers that belong to either a department where there's a policy against any type of undercover work, even with a foreign country. So what it is in the community, because of some blowback with certain organizations that have turned out to be either not forthright or, people committing unwholesome acts, there are there's a lot of liability for a department to carry by being directly related to one of their officers doing this work, and there's no benefit. It's not like they're going to be out there going, all of our officers are out there in their spare time saving kids in foreign countries.
Yeah.
But yet, if one thing happens, even if it's not with that officer, if it's just with the organization that the officer is connected to, now it's like they're worried about all the potential liability and blowback on them. So there have been memorandums that have gone out basically limiting what activities they can engage in. They can do administrative tasks, they can do things of that nature, but they would chance losing their job if they
Yeah.
go out into the field. So we have people that are giving various degrees of support. We have a gentleman that just tried to get on with us, and he's being received very well. He has a lot of great ideas about getting us some public grants and federally funded grants and things that we might qualify for because of the technology aspect of
Oh,
one of our
yeah.
investments. And so there's a lot of cool stuff on the, but I'm not over here slowing down or relinquishing the pressure, because I feel like going to SHOT Show, developing a couple hundred new relationships, letting them know about the work that we're doing. It's like, I think keeping us in the forefront of the media is what's keeping us relevant and reminding people that we're still doing the work, because it's already that big pink elephant that people don't necessarily want to talk about, and
Well,
it's
Absolutely.
it's
not
not
real
just
warm
that,
and fuzzy.
and you
So
can't parade your victories out because your
No.
victories are wounded children.
And I keep
right,
thinking that every day that
You
goes
can't
by,
you
there's a
can't take a wounded child and say, "Look, I just rescued,
I
this
know
kid, and the kid's
it's like
hurt."
feeding the homeless on my live feed or something. I get
You
you.
know,
Yeah,
I mean,
I think about
it's
that any moment there's a child somewhere in the darkest corner of the world, in the dark, and who's suffering in treacherous conditions, and there's nobody that's coming for them in their minds. They don't have hope. They've lost it. And to know that there's an organization out there in Utah and national organizations and these people who just feel in their soul this is what they need to do, and they'll give up hours at work, or they'll give up what they other things that they do to go find that kid. That is the best. That's like Captain America in real life. It's
yeah.
it's better. It's better
Well,
because you guys don't wear tights, probably.
I just had two officers that literally took 9 days of unpaid leave at the beginning of the year. They haven't even accumulated this time off yet. So they had to take 9 days of unpaid leave to come to Zambia so they could teach the interrogation and forensic interviewing and the case studies and how a case is built and a concept of operations. It's a team of guys that I work with, and it's like when I watch their sacrifice, for me to leave 9 days out of my schedule, I just make it up whenever because I'm self-employed, and
Right.
as long as I don't have a government job, then I'm good. I'm on call. So, but when I watch these other guys that have families, they have all these other prior commitments that I don't have, and they're taking 9 days of unpaid leave to go and teach this. I'm like, it reminds me that I'm right where I should be, and that there are other people like me that have priorities beyond the zeros in my bank account. And I've worked myself to the bone, and I wasn't near as happy as I am when I see these guys holding their mugshot photo, staring at the ground in sheer embarrassment. Because you're right, I can't count the victims and feel happy about that because it's not enough. But for every guy that we put away, knowing that they're not going to do that to another person, let's say an Ecuadorian or a Peruvian or a Colombian prison, if you're doing more than 3 or 4 years, that might as well be a life sentence. These guys are doing 25 to 35 years. Yeah, so they're not going to hurt anybody else again. And they don't have protective custody there. So they're going to go
Yep.
into general population.
Yep. They're getting
And
the O-rings blowed out.
But
yeah,
I was
they're going to
wondering.
get dealt with,
I just wonder,
So
can we get a life-size poster of you to put at Grantsville High School on an unrelated note? Go on.
I was wondering with if you got the government of these countries backing you, because I know some of the other organizations in the past, these guys were getting caught, and because the government was corrupt, they were getting out before they even saw the next morning. This makes me happy that you're working actually with the government of these countries, and these people are actually doing time.
Yeah, that's why I'm really looking forward to a change in the tide with our politics here, because trust me, if I could wake up and do this work here and not have to spend 25 to 45 hours each way on an airplane,
Oh my
just
goodness,
yeah,
that's hell.
like Africa
Probably
and
in
back
coach
was
too.
over 40 hours. Oh yeah. Well,
But,
it's donations. I'm not up there in first class, I assure you.
Elon Musk,
I,
get him some
I'm
money,
eating
please.
I'm
before
eating
I,
curry in the back of the plane.
Ugh,
oh,
that
I
smells
So,
just,
awesome.
I've just got to ask though, does it feel like there's, like, I wonder, you see it everywhere. Is it the 24-hour news cycle, or has this always been a thing? Does
Yeah,
it feel like it's been a 100 years
it's
of
come with the
insanity, or is it?
internet
I think it's
too.
independent media is a big factor, not just the fact that we've had TV or cable. I remember having network TV for as long as my childhood, right? Then the black boxes and all that kind of stuff, right? But really, now that we have independent media, I think that people are willing to take those chances and talk about firsthand
No,
events, and it's not filtered.
well,
It's
not
not.
just that, but that it's happening.
The predators.
Has this always
No,
been a thing?
it's always been happening. That's what I'm saying. I think that we just have more of a vibrant, independent media
We
now
just
that's
hear
willing
about
to.
it more now.
Yeah, and this stuff gets hushed by mainstream. Think of all of the anybody from the
Well,
UK for the
I
last
mean,
20 years has known that the royal family is full of incest and
well,
child molestation, and
yeah.
think about the Catholic Church. All of this stuff gets subdued. It's just nobody stays with their thumb on it and keeps twisting. That's the problem, is that after a while they just expose it and then they back off because somebody comes in and slaps somebody else on the wrist, or somebody loses their job for talking about the big pink elephant that nobody's supposed to talk about. And think of the Boy Scouts. Think of all of these different organizations that they have histories of all of these issues, but only recently are they developing policies within the churches and within the scouts to where
Mhm.
you can't be alone with a child. It's just to acknowledge it any other way is almost like an admission of guilt. And that's what we're running into in this country, is for them to acknowledge that there's a human trafficking problem. It's to say that I have this black eye and we need to talk about it. And really here, it's not good for tourism. It's not good for Park City. It's not good for Moab. It's not, you see
It's
what I'm
not good
saying
for
here?
churches.
It's
It's
yeah, it's not good for the faith. It's not good for the fellowship. So all of this stuff tends to get subdued because it's difficult to talk about. And I think about it like anytime I see like ACAB, like all cops are bad, or anytime I see that, like, white people can't be racist, or whatever, you can't be racist against white people, or these things where it's like all or never, you're probably wrong. And with what we've got going on here, there are no bad organizations in the sense that I think all Boy Scout leaders are bad, but
right.
there's this human element that needs to be monitored and it needs to be looked out for.
In
And,
every facet of every
really, really,
organization,
there
every
is.
schools, every neighborhood.
Yeah. And
It's
that's
that
where I
10
was kind of
to 1
inspired
rule.
by it takes the whole village. It does. I don't even have kids. And I'm out here rescuing kids like wherever they'll send me and work with me, and we can actually effectively do it. It's just to get people to acknowledge that there's a problem. It's incredibly difficult here because nobody knows how to deal with it. There aren't specialized task forces for it. They feel like their hands are tied. They don't know if it should go to the attorney general or the FBI, or it'll get bounced around for 3 days before it even lands on somebody's desk who's willing to
Yeah,
pick it up.
government gets in the way. We've seen a lot of that. I've marketing for you. I think that your organization needs to make little stuffed pink elephants. And seriously, and that should be your little logo with the donation,
Yes.
the pink elephant in the room, because you give it to the child you rescue, but it's also a logo that says, we're talking about it, folks. It's here. We're going to talk about it, and we're not going to have shame, because it's like the
Yeah.
rattlesnake and the whole thing. It is a
Yeah.
numbers game, and every part of our culture, it's they're predators among us. They're all over.
Yeah.
And
There
they
are.
have a great mask, and they usually surround themselves in good deeds, public deeds. And that's because that's how a predator protects itself. And
Yeah.
we need to shine light on it, on the behaviors, on the activity, and then we need to have solid cases put together. Let me sell this product for you. I'm ready to sell it for you.
No, I actually think it's a pretty good idea. It's very witty, you know. And I mean, I can't say enough about how we have so much going on here as an amazing country. We're a cultural melting pot. But let's face it, it's like we've kind of had like a mad chef throwing all of these incredible amounts of unbalanced ingredients into this melting pot. And like we have tons of cultural influences that haven't assimilated here. There's a rise on sexual assaults and attacks anywhere that's accepted a large amount of migrants. I know
By
this because
100%,
I've been
at
dealing
least.
with this for over 10 years with going to Belgium, going to France. It's just, you see this everywhere where there's such an influx of population shift and immigration that the culture is not getting to assimilate into the ways of the country that they're entering into. And in a lot of countries, it's like, it's it's considered a rapeable offense for a young woman to be wearing shorts or to be out
Yeah.
after dark or like,
Or-
you know,
In
so
Europe,
Well, not just some countries,
yeah,
but some cultures that have been brought into other countries that's a normal for the
Yeah.
young ladies to wear. How about
You know?
Sweden right now? I just read something today. Sweden has had an average of what was it, 2 bombings every day for the last 31 days, and it was 1 bombing every day for days before that. And it's because an influx of
like
migrants,
terrorism.
they set up mafia style, and they're bombing businesses that aren't paying their protection money.
And in Germany, in Europe, or England, in some
Yep.
of these countries, rape has gone up by
Oh,
300%.
yeah, it's
That's
And
what I'm
then
saying.
these other areas of America, where I mean,
Yeah.
rape in New York has gone up, rape in Chicago has gone up, because these cultures they see women as property, not as human beings, and
it's
they
it's
take.
not just the culture, but let me put it like this. If you're accepting a migrant who's going to come over here and start a business because they're a valuable person leaving their country with their own money and setting themselves up with their own income and their own capabilities, you're gaining a person who will enter into your society and be a boon on the society. If you are accepting people who are coming over here because they're, migrating because they want economic difference, or
Free
they
stuff.
they don't even get along well with their own country, they're not going to come over here and be an economic or a societal boom on your country. They're going to come over here and they're going to be outcasts, and they're going to be rebels, and they're going to be shit bricks just like they were back home.
Yeah.
Well, and you have
And
countries releasing them out of prisons and mental
And
institutions just to
that's-
get rid of the garbage. It's like,
That's insanity.
you take them.
yeah, they're pushing them out and directing them here. And, you know, that's the other thing is the process itself acts as a filter. You know, the fact that you got to be able to speak the language, you have to be able to recite the Declaration of Independence. You have a certain amount of things that are expected of you if you want to gain citizenship here. And those things are not undoable, you know, and it
Mhm.
actually makes me feel bad for the people who came here and did it the right way. And you know, they're being put in this incredibly uncomfortable situation of having to watch other people get to just waltz across and be given everything when they're working really hard to provide a new life for their children, and they did things the right way. Now, I've tried to explain to people for a while there. I almost got Belgian citizenship and just brand dual citizenship before COVID. But after COVID, I don't really travel across the country or, you know, across the Atlantic too much. But I was teaching out there and doing a lot of training. And for me to get a Belgian citizenship, it's like a year-long process. I have to be able to speak French. I have to be able to drive. I have to be able to prove that I have money, that I have a way to make money, and that I have a bank account. So it's like there's like a whole slew of like I can't just like go over there and be like I live here now and
It's
know,
true.
and receive material
And
benefit.
pay me.
yeah,
Um,
and pay me to do it.
it's just like the old
Is
adage that no one hates a bad cop worse than a good cop. It's
right.
the same thing with immigration. The people that did it the right way are getting so tainted
Yeah.
by the people that are doing it the wrong way.
yeah.
And I feel this way about our politicians that allowed this mess. It's hard to put the toothpaste back in. And all of this could reflect poorly on Trump if it's not handled just right. And yet,
Yeah.
a lot of people are going to be upset. And we were talking earlier about the fear mongering now the left is doing about the immigrants that are here. And the people who did it the right way or who are married and are still going through the process with this and they're learning the language and they've got basically a sponsor for them. I mean, there's a way to fix this, but the damage that not one kid, not one woman, not one man should be suffering from these people that shouldn't be here. And
No, I
that is the
hear ya.
hardest part is that there's DUIs happening every day and people are killed and the person who killed them had no business being here in the first place.
Yeah. You got Lake and Riley. I mean, there's that's the thing. It's like this is not a one-off. I can say that I saw a reel the other day with like 15 women that have been killed by undocumented illegal immigrants that were in
Mm.
our country, that they were raped. Some were raped and then killed, and others were just killed. So
And it's
it's just this is an epidemic, and it really is a cultural issue where they're coming from a place where life is cheap, and there's a lot of sexualization of Western culture in the media and in movies and even in with pornography. A lot of this
oh
stuff just makes people
yeah.
think that these acts are okay or that they're warranted. So it's incredible. I just it's sad for me because America is turning into what even Belgium was and the UK was, 5, 10 years ago. It's the same pattern, and
The difference is we're goddamn citizens. We have our weapons.
yep,
Right. We still have our
that's the
guns.
thing.
I am not a subject.
Now, that's why I say there's the human element. You can run into bad people in all facets of life, but anytime somebody gets all hard on the police, I'm like, okay, well, if you came home and your place was broken into and somebody that you cared about is hurt, who are you going to call? Like, you're going to
Yeah.
call your posse? You're going to call your boys? I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to call the
Well,
police like any rational human being.
look at the
And
state of any city that defunded their police. How are they doing?
I
Any one
know.
of them.
No,
Yeah.
I
Poor
hear you.
citizens and business owners in those cities
Yeah.
aren't happy. That's for sure.
We got
Yeah.
a few comments. You mind if we do you know
No.
a Jordan Lott says hello, Patrick?
Oh, no, I don't know. I can't see the photo too well. But
Yeah. Jordan's on here quite a bit, but he says hello.
Hey, Percival, welcome
hello,
back.
Jordan.
Yeah.
We missed you the last few weeks. Percival is our
He's our
local
troll.
troll, but he's not wrong. Jewish. Well, I don't want to even say that, but
He said, did a laser shoot down a plane in Philly?
a plane crash in Philly. I saw breaking news while we were on here, but my
Oh,
phone
man.
is dead. Do you think I could borrow your charger?
Yes.
So we'll get into that. But Percival, welcome back, brother.
Yeah, good to see you.
It's
keep
not
it-
a show without that.
Keep it G-rated, good sir. Please.
And I have been filling the comment section with a lot of your information. I hope that we can help get you some money and help raise some money. Have you thought about going to CES or not CES? The oh my gosh, the conservative movement trade show that's happening in Washington. Is it DC?
CES?
You know, I
Is it
haven't.
CPAC?
CPAC. Gosh, I'm thinking of the tech show.
You've got me so confused.
The CPAC. I could see a lot of people getting on board with you at CPAC. Glenn Beck, maybe he'd sponsor some.
I haven't. I've basically just been going wherever they send me, and I mean, I have an amazing support system of people that are around me, like, Mallory being one of them. I've got a ton of people that are great supporters, so they've just been extending their network and trying to get me in front of people like yourselves where I can tell our story and let people know the work that we're doing. I really feel like in the industry right now of countering human trafficking, especially with children, there's just a void that needs to be filled. And I feel like our organization is doing everything we can to do that with what we have. And, um, just getting the word out about the foundation has been kind of my personal mission because especially with the unique situation of all of my fellow board members and operators. A lot of them, like I said, are current law enforcement or they're um, fire chiefs that are SWAT guys and all these kinds of high profile jobs
They're
where
heroes that don't wear
yeah, I mean,
capes.
that's the thing. They just would rather not have the exposure so that they're not getting hassled by their chiefs and by their bosses. So I've just been doing what I can to get the word out there and let
And
people know.
military too, maybe, huh? I
Yeah,
mean,
we've got a ton of former military guys, nobody that's current right now. I do have a couple of guys I've been personally training that want to do our operator training, because you can be amazing as a soldier with a rifle or even a police officer with a pistol, but in these undercover situations, you're not going to get any of those fancy tools.
Yeah,
So,
and
well,
you kind of have to be a scumbag too.
it's
And
not about
yeah,
that. It's
you,
it's a different package for every operation.
you've got to
yeah,
sell a certain idea to these people. Undercover work is harder than people probably realize. And it could go south anytime. So you got to be able to defend yourself
yeah.
quickly. So that training
Usually
is
the first thing I'll do is I'll stop into a little market and get myself like a fruit knife or something that's small and concealable, but
And
it'll be enough.
excusable. Why do you
Yeah,
have a
I mean,
fruit knife? Because I'm gonna eat fruit. You
yeah,
know.
it's like utilitarian, and
Hmm.
when I have that, I can usually hide it in my waistline, or I can put it in the bottom of my shoe, and I can get through security, and I can get to the bathroom, and then get it out and put it where I can access it, and so it's nice that I have the skill sets if things go south, and I'm still an asset to the team. We've had people with the best of intentions, but just can't verify that they'd be good in a pinch, So
that's so interesting. I mean, it just sounds like you guys are really focused on doing this right. And
Hmm.
that
yeah,
is crucial.
yeah, there are a lot of organizations out there that are, where the strategy that they're doing is questionable or borderline, unethical, but we're able to work in collaboration with these law enforcement professionals and meet the requirements of their prosecutors going in and undoubtedly prove that what they're doing is illegal and they knew it. So
If
it
Maybe.
feels. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say maybe the correct idea for um I don't see why law enforcement agencies couldn't hire off the market for some of their deals. Like, obviously, they wouldn't want to hire a civilian organization for the takedown, but for the intel gathering,
right, this
I think
this
that's
program.
exceptional. I mean,
Well,
that's
believe it
where
or
you're going to
not, like
find.
narcotics units and other task forces will still use what they call a confidential informant.
Hmm.
So you could say that we're operating in a similar capacity for these foreign governments. It's just generally we're acting in collaboration with them on information that probably came in through an informant. So
Yeah.
they tend to be working street informants that have some reason that they don't want this in their neighborhood, or they have a family member or someone that's been hung up in this organization. And so usually we have pretty good intelligence going in to start one of these
Plus,
cases. But
you have the history and the training that's probably so important that maybe they don't have in militarily or law enforcement wise. Like you're bringing in expertise and experience.
yeah,
And if anyone out there is really good at writing grants, get with him because there's got to be so many federal grants coming open. Hopefully, because I know Trump wants to focus on America first, but I
yeah,
would love to know that we've got organizations helping here in the country as well as our law enforcement, but they've only got so much funding and out of tax dollars. And grants are, I mean, if we're going to give money in federal grants, let's do it to people protecting our kids and
Not to the hamster fight club.
and are doing it along the lines of the Constitution and the expectations to build an actual case and to have provable evidence and actually find these predators, because I'm sure a lot of these predators are probably predatory in Europe. They're the consumers of this disgusting pornography that's going on, child pornography. It's the United States is the consumer, right?
Yeah.
They're the
Yeah, a lot
ones
of
feeding the
times.
machine that these people are going out to process these girls or these young boys just to make these movies for people to consume in the United States. And those those people consuming it need to be arrested and put away.
Agreed, agreed. And that's what we're really hoping with the digital sentinel. The possibilities really are endless. It's just
Oh,
a
it's an
matter of
amazing
wherever
idea.
you can get it planted, it starts to detect this behavior and starts interacting and just knows how to adapt. So it really could change the future. It's just, I think that it's amazing that we're using AI to do more than just make funny memes and, stuff that.
Yeah.
Or Terminators. I mean, everyone's afraid of a Terminator, but what if that Terminator is a child sex predator
Yeah,
hunter?
the Predator
And
Hunter
The
2000.
Predator Terminator.
Terminator 2, where he's actually the
Yeah.
good guy.
Yeah.
Folks, if you want to do something good with your day, please consider just throwing some money their way and or tell someone about the show.
Yeah.
Somebody tell Elon Musk that these guys have a amazing idea and they actually have the ability to actually do something with it. They've got the
Yeah.
knowledge and the experience and the skill. And let's get some big donors to back you, because I mean, there's so many companies that are looking for somewhere to do good and to get their tax write-offs. I mean, this is just a great option, I think.
Yeah, go to the CIRF.org, right in the very top, big blue button. I'm going to share it on screen right now. There's a donate now. There's also it looks like hold on, let me
Like
get
a
this sharing
child
before you
safety.
can. Yeah, there's a child safety online section. I mean, how that's got to be the most important right now, because that's the hunting ground for these creeps.
School districts who have every single kid sitting on the laptop on their Chromebooks. If a
Yeah.
school district purchases technology per district, and just to protect the kids, because a lot of parents don't love that their kids on a device, and they're trying to
Mhm.
protect kids from not seeing certain things. And something like this, where maybe the child doesn't feel like they've got Big Brother on their shoulder, or that the child's information is not being used or sold or anything like that.
Yeah, that's the
But
beauty too, is it automatically boots the child right out of the conversation and then blocks the individual. So you pretty much like are protecting the child 100% and they can't re-access that individual. And then it basically just allows for
that's
them to move
amazing.
forward with digging
Do
theirself a deeper grave.
do
So,
they then act as the child and
yes.
see,
Yep.
this is amazing. This is genius.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's why
this
it's
technology is being developed here in the States, because you're not doing
it's
it
being
overseas,
no,
because
we're
they'll
doing it
steal
right
it.
right here in Utah, right here in Utah
Mm,
with a local AI partner.
that's
See, and
fantastic.
we've got our
And
own Silicon Slopes here, and now we're
Yeah.
going to watch it pay off. One kid, I want one kid. I would take
yeah,
one kid, because I can only imagine the hell a parent is in losing one, let
I
alone
know.
there are
That's
thousands.
that's literally the same thing I said when I started this is um because I was dating a girl and I had helped raise her daughter for about 4 years, and she died in a tragic car accident pretty close to when I was given the opportunity to do this work. And I was like, man, if I could just save one family from losing their kid. And because I didn't know like if I would be able to do this and be able to do it over and over again. And but it was like, well, even if I just save one,
Right.
then it's worth whatever I go through. And then it just kept going. So like this year I was personally involved in saving 14 kids, and we saved 34 as an organization, and put away 36 predators, and have trained 2 different task forces with the type of information it would take to move forward stopping this kind of stuff. So this is
How
just
many
since
years have
I've
you
been
been
on.
at it? Is this the first year or?
So I'm about a year and a half into this foundation, and then before that, I was training several of the guys that belong to it, and that was kind of how I got pulled on board, is because I knew other fellow officers, um, and like I said, I have like my DoD clearance to be able to work with military intelligence and DoD intelligence officers. So I just kind of had all of the right background to
Yeah,
where.
you're a unicorn. I'm telling you, you're probably really rare. And I'm just wondering, how long has the organization been going?
About 4 years now. Yeah, and
Okay,
most
so
of
it's
our
still pretty
guys have
new.
been. We have guys that have been doing this for, I think, on the upwards of 7 or more years. Some of our guys, for other organizations before this one, and just they wanted to do it the way that they knew worked and preserve their law enforcement partner relationships. So they founded Children's International Rescue Foundation, and the rest
This
is
is great.
history.
I
So
mean,
Mhm.
imagine funding a thing 4 years ago after Trump had all that stuff in, and then your organization comes, and then Biden comes along, and you're basically got
He's making
shades
work
on
for you.
now. It's all the
yeah,
obstacles in your way, and now the sky's the limit. I hope for you guys
yeah.
to save more kids, and hopefully more people learn about you, read about you, and share this video, and maybe share, just talk to your neighbors about it, about this
Yeah,
organization,
it's anti-human
and
trafficking month this month. This is the month to
yeah,
really get out there and be an advocate and raise awareness, and just ask the people that are pivotal in your communities, whether it be the churches, or whatever your values establish with. But for some people, they have like a sewing group, or they have a book reading group, or I think it's important for the whole village to come together on this, and to have it be in the front of our minds, especially right now with so many cultural changes, and all the different stuff that we're facing with desperation across our country, with the homelessness population, the mental health issues downtown. It's just, we're in an incredibly delicate state right now, and things haven't balanced back out. It's just getting started. So,
Fred said
Yeah.
behind the Walmart in Twilla, on one of his comments. I mean, everyone knows an area of town where
yeah, I mean,
probably
any
kids
of
are going
Glendale,
missing.
any of West Valley, any of Ogden, I don't even leave Little Midvale here or West Jordan without being strapped. If I'm going downtown, I've got my gun. I've got my gun, I've got my knife. And I don't even look like somebody you'd want to, start something with,
No, geez,
but that's implying that everybody walking around down there is rational.
the
And we
mental
know
illness isn't
we know that's
rampant.
not the case, right? So I always just make sure that it might not even be me. I'm not gonna allow for something horrific to go down while I'm right there and could stop it. So thankfully we have good Samaritan laws here, and I feel that I can be a protector in my community. I really believe in the values here in Utah, and I feel very blessed to be a resident of the state here. So
You need to
Mhm.
get yourself a pink elephant, a stuffed pink elephant. I think that's it. Let's talk about the
keep it right
elephant
up
in the
there.
room. Moms, start talking about the elephant in the room, and everybody, organizations should shine light on it, because no one is free from it. Nobody can say, hey, that's never happened here, because it
Yeah,
is far more popular than we even realize. It could be in your
yeah,
backyard, and it's in your home. If you've got internet, it
absolutely.
can
Mm.
That's
come
the thing.
right into your child's bedroom, right
Yeah,
there, while you're in the next room, and it's terrifying. And I think we do need to talk about the pink elephant
That's
in the
why I
room.
worked real hard to
I
try to have
agree.
an ugly kid.
Doesn't matter, you need to have a smart kid that doesn't need people on the internet to like them.
Yeah, yeah, one who doesn't fall victim to seduction. The number one factor is keeping your child with a very, very elevated self-esteem so that they know
Elevated
that,
self-esteem, secure with their family.
yep,
If
so
you
they know they're
can,
beautiful, they know they're
yep,
smart, that the
remain
seduction.
married to your spouse.
Yeah.
The most hazard any child has in this world comes if they've got a single mom that's on the dating
Yep.
scene.
That
It's the
is the
most
number one
dangerous
factor for
thing.
predators, is that if they don't have a dad that looks like they'll do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's the number one target on their back. So,
And
So
that's if their dad isn't a predator. I mean, in this day and
right.
age, we have to foster the culture of family and the family unit, but he needs to be back in family. And honestly, people have to know that our children are our most precious resource, and they're not just a number. They're everything to our future, everything. And they're not being treated as such. And we're trying to make them grow up so fast. And the internet is, I think, that probably one of the leading causes of this stuff happening in all the crevices of the world, because like I said,
Yeah.
there's a consumer and there's somebody producing that content, and as long as there's a consumer for the content, they will produce it,
yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
just despicable.
No, it's absolutely true. I mean, that's why screen time should be monitored with children until they earn the right to have otherwise. And then also, like I said, these types of programs, we're actually talking with a couple of child cell phone companies, seeing if we can integrate this into cellular technology so that it could even be covering the kids while you're not there and they're away from the network. So we've got
I
some
might
big
even get my
things in
kid
the
a cell
works.
phone if that's on the table. I might even
I
get him a
wish.
cell phone.
Do they still even make those kids' cell phones?
My kid had one. Yeah, it's
Do they still make them though?
yeah.
I remember they used
They
to
look
have
like a
them.
smartphone,
Yeah, I've heard
but
of them
they can
having
only
ones that,
call
yeah, they
numbers you
can
put
only,
in, and they can't get
yeah,
online.
yep, can't get online and basically can't turn off the GPS tracking as well.
And
So,
my kid hated it, but I got him one that looked like an iPhone so that he
yeah,
didn't send out, and he could take pictures and he could send text, but he couldn't get online. So someone sends him a GIF or a YouTube video, he can't watch it. And he wants a real cell phone, and he's going to be 15. And we've just been adamant. No,
mm,
I'm not going to do it. But
no, I hear you.
it would be nice. Is there a back end solution to this product that gives the parent the monitoring and not some entity in the sky? Or is there
No,
a
that's what it is
database?
it's going to alert the parent. The only reason that I believe it alerts law enforcement is if they're engaging in felonious criminal activity. So if they send like inappropriate media, or they send like an inappropriate adult video or something along those lines where they're actually engaging in pornography with the child, then they've crossed that red line. So
Well,
at that point, it would
even if
notify
they
law enforcement.
don't, if it builds a profile on the bad guy, like say he gets a hit off this kid's whatever and that other kid's whatever, you keep coming
Yeah,
back with the same IP address. That's someone that
that's it.
It's multiple.
when they
So
step out of line, you've got a big packet to bring into court. And
I think the unique feature to the program is that it actually prioritizes the threat level of the child. So it's basically like one would just be that it's been made obvious that the person is over 18 and that the child is under 18.
That's what I was
So this
wondering.
is already
How
this is
does it
already
know?
it's already an inappropriate interaction, considering this person doesn't know the child personally and they're interacting with a child over the internet. So it's already like a level one priority. Then level two would be there's fantasy driven conversation. So like there's this interaction back and forth about, oh, you're beautiful, or you seem smart for your age, or you seem more intelligent than other kids that I've talked to, or whatever type of fantasy driven
Or don't
conversations that's
tell
going on.
anyone.
Yeah, or like, starting to ask personal questions. Things along those lines escalates it to a level 2, but it's still not a high priority. No law has been broken. Then when you think of like a level 3 priority, that's going to be based off of the fact that there's inappropriate requests or exchanges of media. So, can you send me a picture of what you look like with no shirt on? Can you send me a picture of you
Mm.
naked? Here's a picture of me. Here's a picture of my genitalia. Like any of these things, if they're identified by the program, then it's automatically going to have already worked on
S-
separating the child from the conversation and building the case package and target profile. So
Would a
it's
person have to opt in? Like this isn't, it wouldn't be like a department could run everything in their jurisdiction perhaps, but a parent would purchase it and opt in to
yeah, a
have, and
parent
then
is
they tell
purchasing
the
it and
service,
opting in,
this is a
and then they're
15-year-old girl. So the
Mhm.
data is known by the AI. This is a child's number, a child's
Yeah,
phone,
you're
and the
putting in
parent
the
opts
basic
in.
information so that the AI knows what it's supposed to emulate.
I
So
got you.
does that make sense? So
Yep.
you're only giving so much profile, and then the beauty of it is the child gets to see, or I'm sorry, the AI gets to see how your child interacts with other children. So there's like generally slang and slight misspellings and all kinds of little nuances to like. I mean, think of the way we talked when we were little and we thought we were cool, and our parents didn't know what we were talking about half the
Yeah,
time. So,
skibbity toilet. That one
Yeah.
still gets
yeah,
me.
yeah, or
But
no
I don't
cap,
want to.
right?
I know
So,
there's a constitutional side where it's not like Big Brother. You're choosing to get this on your
Yeah, this
child.
isn't something
yeah,
that's
you're
just going to
choosing to put
automatically
this on
come.
your computer. What they're doing, that the law enforcement side has the ability to build decoy accounts and actually
Right.
plant them into different like locations within the internet
Is
itself. So they could
so
put one in Facebook chat for Salt Lake City. They could put one in Facebook chat for West Valley, for Tooele, for whatever. They could plant them
They're everywhere,
anywhere
folks.
in their jurisdiction. That's the beauty of it, is now they just hopefully will just give up, as
Well,
far
yeah.
as like, as far as this being a fishing spot for them to hunt for unsuspecting children. So
well,
they can
TikTok.
basically run an unlimited amount of decoy accounts based off of like their manpower to observe them and their processing speed. So
so will is this going to be, you said, available for a computer,
iOS.
yeah,
iOS, Google?
we're hoping to have the law enforcement side of it settled within the next like 5 months or so. It's already been being beta tested for about a month. We just need to actually develop cases that lead to probable cause, that lead to convictions. But as soon as we have a handful of those, then we're going to release the law enforcement side. And we're already talking to some major distributing partners for that like distribute other software for law enforcement agencies for their dispatch or their chest cams or other aspects. So if that gets picked up by something big, if you see our website just disappear one day, it means that we got that magical donor and we don't need to be having our
Mm.
information and faces out there.
Now
But
you're doing mass
um,
rescue without
right,
yeah.
that's the thing, is I already had to be a little leery about showing my face all over these podcasts, but at the same time, this is what we need right now. So
Yeah.
I've backed off the undercover work, gotten more into the training side of things. If I do go into one of these operations, I generally wear a hat, got a different shirt, cover a higher collar. I'm doing everything I can to manage my exposure, but the
But
other thing
exposure is
is,
what you need right now.
it is. It is. That's why I've kind of been like the Swiss Army knife, just kind of doing the exposure stuff, doing the handshakes and elbow rubbing. And then if they need to send me somewhere to train people, I go. If they need an operator, then I go. But um, it's just, it's hard because we have about a dozen people that are hyper dedicated, and then we have another dozen that are kind of on standby, and we really only reach out if we can't fill the obligations. But it's, we're all pretty dedicated and focused on what we're doing. So
Well,
it's
I'm so grateful. I'd
Yeah,
like to
thank you.
say thank you for your work, and I'm sure that you gain more from this than anyone could ever really understand that's not in it. And I know people in law enforcement that you couldn't tell them not to do the job because it's
Hmm.
inherent in them, in their soul. and you can tell this is like in your soul. And they couldn't have a better person speaking and asking for money. We've had you way longer than we thought.
Yeah, thank you very much, Patrick.
This has been a great show. I'm so excited to meet you finally. We've heard great things. I've heard great things about you, and just to put the face with the name now. So Mallory, thank you for
if you ever need to get information out again, you've got my number. You've got an open invite.
I appreciate that.
Come on and
yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. We're gonna have a big year. I mean, we're already just into January, and it looks like I'll probably be going to South America this next month. So we're getting down to it. So we do appreciate the support. Anybody considering supporting us, and don't be shy. If there's even just product support or something along those lines, we do auction based fundraisers a couple times a year, and sometimes it's hard for people to part with cash, especially if they're in a developmental phase with their business. But we found that people have been donating, like we got donated a gun safe from SHOT Show and a firearm that somebody's going to allow us to raffle off and sell through an FFL. And there's just been a lot of support in the 2A community. So
I'm seeing a pink elephant with a heart with your logo in it for $10 on your website. I would buy it. I'd buy 2 of them and stick them both in my kids' room, because I really, really think it doesn't even have to be pink. It just has to be an elephant. Yeah. And then the GOP gets involved and says, hey, we can get behind you, and it's an elephant logo. I mean, it's all fitting. Let's market this.
Well, everyone, I mean, just, if you got it, $10, go on there. Yeah. Shoot $10 at them. Go to thecirf.org, and the donate button's easy to find. You don't have to dig around for
it's
it.
Right on top.
It's easy to fill out.
Yep. You don't have to go through the pitch.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of sells itself. I hope people will do it. And thank you for your time.
Yes,
we've taken so much of it.
No, it's my pleasure. Really, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And thank you. Hopefully I'll see you soon at one of the shooting events.
Please.
You need to do knife training event.
Yeah, I should do knife training, but like I said,
you already mastered shooting.
I'm afraid of knives. I'm not afraid of me having knives.
I don't think he stabs his client. Do you stab your clients? I don't think I don't think he'll stab you much.
No, not with a real knife.
You don't get all stabby.
All right, Patrick, you have a good night. Everyone's Patrick Odle.
Thank you so much.
Again, just to go through go to the thecirf.org. You've got Patrick's his own website, mccdefense.com.
It's in the comments on Facebook.
Yep, they're all in the comments. If you have any questions, if you want to have him come train your knitting club or your book club, anything like that. And I think every woman should pursue some form of
and it's free,
aggressive defense, because
or do you charge?
Usually what I'll do is with these women's defenses, if we can book it a couple months out, I'll do them free of charge up to 2 hours, and I just do them as a service to the community.
Yeah.
So,
and every woman, ladies, you should pursue this, because a large portion of your ability to defend yourself is in your mindset. And by pursuing these trainings, you can gain that mindset. You can gain that ability to unleash the aggression.
What age is the youngest you'll train? So like if we had,
I like to start them at around 12 to 13 and up, depending on like intelligence level, just because at that point they're going to be dealing with a full-size potential aggressor. And,
right.
But yeah, you're right. That mindset training is important. I run into people out here that have never been into a fight, and they can't imagine having to hurt somebody. But usually if I mention, like what why don't you want to fight back, and it's because they think they'll make the situation worse, and
they'll make it worse, or they've experienced their whole life holding in the aggressive emotion. You don't let that out in the office.
Or how about you find yourself in front of a jury in New York City because you decided to fight back. I mean, that's
don't
a fear
live in
people
New York
really
City.
have.
That's the key there.
Yeah. And what I'll usually do is I'll relate to them about either a child or someone that they've been placed in charge of. And then you'll see, like, well, imagine you have your niece or your nephew or your son or your daughter or your grandchild, and they're being assaulted. Would you tell them to just let it happen so that it doesn't make it worse?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden there's like a furrowing of the brow and a tightening of the jaw. And so it's generally not too hard to, like, kind of scrape and dig it out of somebody and get them back in touch with that primitive nature.
Yep.
And
They just need to pursue that training. They need to recognize that they have it.
yeah,
All right.
and that's it. Just getting in
Yep.
touch with it, being capable. So
Well, I
Yep.
need to get my health in order, and then I will go take one of your
Yeah.
classes.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. Everybody have a good night.
Are we
Have a
closing
good
the show
weekend.
with him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we'll hang out for 2 more minutes just to mention something. But thanks again, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick.
Again,
Pleasure.
anytime, man. And we'll talk
God
to you again
bless
soon.
you. Stay safe.
Yeah.
thank you.